the Chase Thomas podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
This conference is pretty terrible. I've been thinking about that this weekend. I think Florida State has to go undefeated to make the college ball playoff because of what's happened to the conference around them. Do you agree?
Yes, I think I think I do. It's funny how I feel like we do this every year, and it's just like, if there's like 6 undefeateds at the end of the year, I don't know what we're gonna do. And then it just seems to work itself out. Someone loses, and obviously Oklahoma, we'll get to them. They've worked themselves out, but I think the Big 12 kind of has that same concern. Like Oklahoma has the Texas win, and Texas has the Alabama win. Florida State's really just milking that LSU win for all that. They're just praying LSU wins every week, so that win looks better and better. But Michigan and Ohio State are going to knock each other off. Like Washington, Oregon, there's only going to be one of those teams left. So I think Florida State has a pretty clear path to the playoff. So if they trip up, that obviously I think I would probably.
I mean, look, if you do a one-loss, let's say this.
Taking Oklahoma or Texas over them.
Right? Like you're taking a Texas-Oklahoma over them, one loss.
Who's the loss to?
I mean, let's say they lose the ACC title game to UNC. Or they lose
if they
the
lose
game.
the ACC, if they lose the ACC title game, I guess TCU did just do that a year ago. I don't know, lose to Florida and then win the ACC. I think that's probably a better scenario. So they do have that ACC championship, because I think if it came down to some tiebreakers, some different one-loss teams, I think you're probably right. I think that the ACC is looking like more and more mediocre. Like
I think they're the worst Power 5 conference this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. The Big 12 is like they have Texas and Oklahoma, but I don't really know about the rest of that conference.
I mean, Oklahoma State's rolling right now. Kansas State's really good right now. Who else? Kansas just beat Oklahoma. I mean, I think the top half of the conference is better than the top half of the ACC right now.
Yeah, that's probably true. Is there a second ranked team? So Louisville is ranked.
Yeah.
And is that it? There's not a third. North Carolina stayed in the coaches poll. But yeah, so only 2 ranked teams in the whole conference.
Let me just go ahead and tell you, I think Florida State's this is going to expedite their exit from the ACC, is that they're going to get left out of the college football playoff with one loss, because the ACC has just completely fallen on its face. Because I think a one-loss Oregon or Washington and a one-loss Texas and Oklahoma both get in before a one-loss Florida State, based on just the schedule and the strength of their conference right now.
But there's a major caveat to that, is that the schedule is this week, and these teams aren't beating Florida State. Like, obviously, they've had some close calls.
But do you think they're going undefeated?
I think they definitely should go undefeated. Like, I mean, Miami shouldn't beat them. Like, Florida
going undefeated is really hard, Matt. Most people don't do it. There's a reason that you're a Georgia fan. This is what's happening here. You're just conditioned to undefeated, and that like it's a thing.
No, I just told you these things have a way of working themselves out, and teams lose, and we end up having a clear, like, okay, these are the clear 4 teams. Like most years, it's like not really that. There might be a debate about like the 4th and 5th spots, but it's usually not that crazy of a conversation. So these things do tend to work themselves out. But I look at Florida State, like going undefeated is very tough to do, but like going 8-0 is once you've gone 8-0, going undefeated is a lot easier to do. So you only have 4 spots left. So it's like, I remember last year we got to the playoff. You always talked about Georgia. I think it's just so hard to go undefeated. So I'm picking Ohio State, and it's like, well, they already went 13-0. Like that was a huge part of the going undefeated. They've already gotten over that hurdle. So obviously Florida State hadn't gotten that far yet, but at 8-0 at Pittsburgh, obviously is always a weird place. But Miami and Florida, they basically have 3 Power 5 opponents left on the schedule. So yeah, I mean, they should beat all of those teams. They'll be favored to beat all of those teams, and then probably Louisville at this point. But I guess Virginia Tech is up there at 3-1 right now in the ACC, at 4-4 overall. But Florida State, Louisville, it's like that's a solid win. If they do trip up and lose to Florida, and Louisville somehow remains 11-1 or something in the regular season, I don't know what their schedule is the rest of the way, but I mean, I don't know what the probability, what the playoff predictor out there says, but I mean, I think the chances of Florida State getting in the playoff they got to be up near the very top of the team most likely to make the playoff to this point.
We'll see, Matt Green. I think it's something to monitor, folks. I would keep your eye on that one because you heard it here first, is what I would say.
Like, obviously, we're all counting out Penn State at this point. So, like, Ohio State, Michigan are basically a lock.
Yeah.
But we don't know at all which one is the lock, you know? So it's like Florida State doesn't have that game that's like, if they can get past this huge hurdle, it's like they've done it at this point, and they just need to take care of business.
That's fair.
I mean, North Carolina's this is just par for the course with North Carolina. Like, we predicted the North Carolina downfall a couple weeks early, but we finally got it.
We did finally get it.
But staying on the ACC before you move on, were you going to go to Clemson, NC State?
No, we could sit there for a little bit longer.
Because the craziest part to me is that Clemson beat NC State and nobody cares. Like, it wasn't even a big story. It was just like, oh.